Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Okay, guys, Dr. Norman Bilgan is a ex-NASA chief engineer. What's again, we've talked about them staging a false extraterrestrial contact. You'll find the astronauts, the engineers, the scientists, whether that be in NASA or CERN or any of these other military industrial complexes, as well as governments, of course, from presidents and prime ministers. They all seem to be part of the fraternity of Freemasonry. And at the helm of that, there seems to be an agenda to push this false extraterrestrial contact, at least card. And I believe, and what we've outlined in the science PDF, is that they're looking to stage that, and that's to do away with mankind's connection with their creator, rather explain away our existence being seeded by these technologically advanced sentient beings who've been revisiting the earth every time this system comes back again, and them having basically inspired and cherry-picked messengers with their doctrines during that time, so their religious beliefs, until such time that we were, I guess, advanced and civilized enough to learn our truths. Now, I understand that they're going to make this contact during a nuclear attack, okay, an event that's going to ensue, and during that time, they're going to claim that they're intervening to ensure that we do not annihilate one another. And this is how they'll look to basically do away with, well, sidestep Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God, from the equation in the psyche of humanity. This seems to be on the cards, which is going to be followed by the Antichrist again, and I've also maintained that he's going to claim extraterrestrial origin as well and bring with him a spiritual religion. But also there's going to be another religion that's going to come with them, which is the religion of technology and science, which will then explain away past miracles as being just advanced technology and not necessarily miracles or magic, as it were. And this is part. This seems to be part of the psyop. Anyway, you've got to watch this because this guy's from NASA. He's an ex-engineer, and you'll see how there's this huge impetus to push this narrative. There's of course it's kind of shrouded with a lot of conspiracy. There's give and take. We there's some stuff that obviously reveals itself in the mainstream, and then they redact it with a bit of humor. But this is how psyops are actually done, subhanallah, just so that they can open that dialogue, okay, and the mind's eye to the possibility, and those discussions can start within the average individual's home and within his social circles. So anyway, again, our beloved ulama ikram are really, I can't stress, because I mean, we haven't got a clue about it, and we've not seen it coming. It's really unfortunate. It really is disheartening that we haven't got an idea of what really seems to be happening. It's as though we've got our eyes shut. Subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and guide us.
And I had Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 data, and that I inspected and studied for quite a while. And that's when I wrote the first book, and I was so surprised at what I found.
I want to interject again. It's during the exit of the system, which we've talked about, that they're looking to stage a false war, an economic collapse, and a false extraterrestrial contact. And then there's obviously the natural disasters that would ensue, which we're already experiencing whilst the system is here, but during its exit it's going to be significantly worse.
That it took me like the 4 years to get the book published, because I wasn't sure that what I had was really right. And so I looked in many articles and books oh yeah, this sort of fits what they're talking about there. Okay, you're okay, so publish it. And so the book came out in 1985.
Okay, and that's the Ringmakers.
That's the
But the
Ringmakers.
other one, this one.
That's 1971. I had left Lockheed.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Well, did we build it?
Pardon?
Did we build it? Did who built it?
No, he just mentioned Lockheed Martin, and any one of you who are privy to the military-industrial complex and the ones at the helm with the United States of America, you'll learn that Lockheed Martin has very occult roots, and they certainly dabble a lot in black ops.
The craft.
I don't know who built it, but what I found out is these things inhabit Saturn. That's where I first discovered them, and they're proliferating. They're now at Uranus and Jupiter. Wherever you see some rings now, why, that's one of these.
You see the craft.
Yeah, I call it a ringmaker. Yeah.
Okay, you call it a Ringmaker.
Yeah, and I say it's electromagnetic because I could identify streamlined patterns with respect to it that I knew were what we call potential lines, and that says it was electrical. When I worked at Lockheed, I had documents that were indeed top secret.
Really? Wow.
Oh yeah, and then I went through the first generation of the Polaris underwater launch vehicle, and then I got tapped to go behind closed doors.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, so if any of you are not understanding what he's saying is, this ex-NASA engineer is talking about spacecraft which are not terrestrial, as in not from Earth, not man-made, according to him, are extraterrestrial, and they're shaping the rings of Saturn, right? And these spacecrafts are being propelled by electromagnetic energy.
And I was there for till I got claustrophobia.
3 doors to get to your...
Yeah, I had to sign my life away for 30 years.
Wow. Is it still in effect right now?
No.
No? So could you tell me anything?
No.
You can't?
Mm.
Why? What would happen?
I'd prefer not to find out.
You might have seen some craft in those hangars. Is that right?
It was my first clue that there was something in space that was different. Okay. I was handed one day a set of data. The guy that gave it to me said, nobody else around here has ever been able to get anything out of these data, and if anybody can, you can. And so I went through it, and I found this one spot of data that really looked interesting. And I slugged through plotting it up. It was quite a difficult task to draw the picture of that. And when I got it, you could tell it was something strange. I didn't, at that time, I have seen one on the ground in Antarctica.
Yeah?
Not personally, but an image of one which I wished I had cut out.
Right.
No, these things can come in real low.
Yeah.
They're all sizes. Mm-hmm. It's the same deal as airplanes. You know, they're Cubs and all that kind of. You know.
Right, and so when you're talking about the craft in the rings of Saturn, you're talking about something huge, right?
Yes.
Much bigger than we could even conceive of, I understand. What is it? I don't know. Was it 70,000?
Yeah. in looking down on the rings, I could see parallel lines crossing the ring, all the rings at once. That's about as long as you can get them.
That's incredible.
But I could tell that those lines demarked the outside of an object.
Mm-hmm. Are you sort of saying, when you say you got claustrophobia, I don't know what that means. Do you mean that you became sort of tired of working in this above top secret area?
Yeah, I'm not tired, and it was very exciting. I got to see everything that went on all over the world.
Wow.
Nothing much has changed.
Yeah?
I don't know how.
Or were you threatened? Were you, what did you have friends who were leaving the employee of Lockheed at that time? I mean, was there some incident that happened that made you want to leave?
No, it wasn't that. Let's just say that you're confined to one room day after day, year after year, same walls, so forth. That's claustrophobia.
I see.
But I knew that, hey, there's something going on out there, and see if you can't find it.
Okay, but have you heard that NASA alters their footage coming from the moon, etc.?
I know some of the things they do with it, yeah.
Okay, so even their footage is not always dependable, right? Although I guess it's dependable to begin with. It's just that they start altering it later.
I have been told by a very reliable source. He asked me what camera did I get that image from on the moon. I said Hasselblad, and he said that's right. He says, I thought we darkened that enough that you wouldn't find it. Fine.
Oh, yes. So you were finding things that they thought they covered up.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That must have been a lot of fun.
And this guy says, well, I suppose you want me to go out and tell everybody about that. I said, no, I don't want to embarrass you. That doesn't make any difference to me. Whatever you want to do is fine with me. I'm just saying I found what you saw.
And we're able to, sort of look at and keep in sort of pristine condition.
I'll tell you, at this juncture, I don't know what I have. I finally went to put it in a vault that the people claimed, hey, nobody can get in here, including the government. But unfortunately, somehow, somebody did.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And what they do, like I have some on a laptop, some of it's just on discs and so forth, they garble it. They run it through something and they garble it.
So it's no longer...
And sometimes there's just nothing on there. And I know that there should be something, and there's nothing. So I don't know how much of the early stuff I can put together. What I do know is I can put together it any time. Okay, so I don't need that old stuff you can tell people.
Really?
I don't need it.
Because you're familiar with the landscapes, you know where things are.
I know I'm familiar with the landscape. I know pretty much what's going on. It's sort of simple. On the that's a lot of energy.
Right.
And
okay. And this is the ring, right? This is the ring?
That ends up being the ring.
Yeah.
It's
and
hot plasma.
Oh, really? Okay, so, and what your theory is they're manufacturing it. Is that correct?
It comes, that's That's the exhaust from this thing.
From the craft?
Yes.
Is it because, are they stationary or are they moving, the craft?
They're probably moving.
So do you think, when you say things are getting critical, are you saying...
Don, just take that picture and say that's the exhaust. It's like you have an airplane with an exhaust. Mm-hmm. It's in your atmosphere, and it can load a lot of energy, you know. And but this is Saturn, like John Lear says, you know, Saturn is the focal point, and I can't agree with him more.
Okay, but John Lear talks about Saturn actually being portal into another dimension.
Well, you know, he's theorizing.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily go there.
I don't go that way.
Uh-huh.
I either say this is the way it is, or I can attack it.
Okay, but you're saying things are getting critical because I'm really curious. Are you saying that those craft are coming here? Is that why it's critical?
No, I'm saying, in effect, if they do, and there's a good probability that that is possible, then, hey, you got to get with it. You can't wait around. Mm-hmm. Okay, but you see, no one really in this country accepts the concept that at Saturn, those things are there.
Right.
If you can't do it at Saturn, well, you know, you just can't find it. People have got to be made to understand that those things are real.
Right. You know, there's a movie out called Prometheus, right?
Okay, subhanAllah, ulama ikram, I mean, I'm trying to take this as we move along. She just mentioned Prometheus, and Prometheus is the bringer of fire. Now, if you understand and have studied occult doctrines and mystery religions, then Lucifer is considered the light bearer, and you'll see this Baphomet who has a torch, a flame on his head, which again symbolizes the third eye, divinity, wisdom, and many other aspects to this false religious doctrine. At any rate, Prometheus is meant to be, again, in terms of occult mystery religions where they're concerned, is the bringer of fire who brought wisdom to mankind, right, through fire, which is interesting again because that's the element with which jinn kind were made, and Iblis Lanatullah alayhi is created, so you can understand how they revere and worship that symbol. And it's interesting that she would mention Prometheus right now, and we've talked about how Hollywood and the movie industry is run by the CIA, and those scripts are provided by them so that they can condition the minds of people. So it's a huge social engineering project. It's a psyop. And there's a lot to be gleaned from these kind of religious beliefs. I mean, when you sit down without kaleidoscopic eyes and you're rehearsed and at least in these doctrines and in comparative religious studies, then you see exactly what they are trying to, under a thin veil of secrecy, using allegories and symbolism, numbers, numerology, and architecture, and many other aspects, what they're trying to communicate to the people in the know. And Prometheus is basically another extension and another description. It's Iblis Lanatullah alayhi reinvented in a different story, basically. And you'll see that again happen quite often. It's not just Prometheus. There's many other characters played by that fool in religious doctrines, where it symbolizes himself, like, for example, the Sirius star. And there's many other examples like this.
I can't say that I do.
You don't know that. Well, there is one. And I talked to Richard Hoagland. He said Prometheus is, well, first of all, there's a moon in Saturn called Prometheus, right?
Yeah.
And I'm told.
Now, isn't that convenient, right? Who named it? Of course, NASA, right? Where astronomy is concerned, they find these moons, discover them, and then name them. And naturally, they're steeped in occult beliefs, so they're going to give them names accordingly.
That there's some kind of interaction between that moon and the rings.
Well, sure. No question about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with him.
And and you say there's something going on now. It's becoming critical. Is how you're terming it?
Yeah, it's much more prevalent than what we saw in 1985 or a little earlier.
Meaning there's more activity on Saturn, do you think, or just more activity around this question about the rings and the craft in the rings?
No, there's actual activity.
There is.
To start off with, Uranus, which is one of the other planets, did not have rings.
That's right.
But now it does.
Right.
See? And so that kind of thing is going on. And we really ought to get to the root of it.
Okay, do you have a theory on why Uranus suddenly has rings?
Well, sure, it's the exhaust just like... so that's how I think the attention is being obtained. And so I would expect something to happen. But,
You would?
yes.
When you say something to happen, what are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that Stanford, let's say, well, let's look into what Norm's doing. As far as my own professional organization is concerned, it does not fit at all with their objectives.
How is it different?
It's too controversial.
Your theories, you mean?
Now look, this is not a theory when there's data. If I propose something, that is a theory.
Okay, so your data.
Okay, he's claiming this as a fact and not necessarily theory. He's saying there's data that supports unequivocally his position that extraterrestrials exist with very, very, very significant technology, and they seem to be terraforming the rings around Saturn.
Or your conclusions?
Yes, conclusions.
Your conclusions.
Yeah.
Are too controversial, is
yes.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't want to get involved in that.
But if there, as you say, there are new rings around Uranus, and there's other activity on other planets too, isn't there? In the solar system? Jupiter. And what's happening with Jupiter?
It's getting rings.
Right, guys, if you go back to any of the other older vlogs, and I've shared with you a link directly to the CIA website where they talked about remote viewing of Mars, and then we discussed how from there they're going to claim that they terraformed the Earth. Now, what they're trying to do again, just like they tried to convince us that if man can genetically engineer and clone beings, then there's no reason why, by extension, extraterrestrial beings cannot have cloned mankind by splicing their own gene with the gene of the Homo erectus, right? The indigenous species on Earth during that time. Those claim back many, many thousands of years ago when they apparently visited Earth, which is certainly just false nonsense. But again, what they're doing over here is showing a capability and entertaining the dialogue of other beings being able to terraform other planets. By extension, right now they're talking about Uranus, but they're also talking about the rings of Saturn. So they're basically introducing these ideas, okay, into the mind's eye so that dialogue can occur. And then you go through this journey through your mind's eye and entertain the possibilities. And that's what they need before they stage this false extraterrestrial contact, subhanAllah. And what can I say? Our beloved ulama ikram are just, either they're aware of this, and for a reason that I can't explain, maybe perhaps they're concerned that their reputation is at stake. But this is the iman of believers, subhanAllah. The reputation absolutely means nothing. Nothing in the face of something that threatens. I mean, please, I mean, you followed the science PDF. You followed uh, the um, the vlogs that have been archived, and I'm sure you appreciate that. I've got nothing but absolute reverence, love, and respect for all our ulama kiram. But I can't begin to tell you my frustration about the impotence that I'm at least sensing in the face of this particular subject matter, and there's absolutely nothing done. It's like we're sat on the sidelines, and there's going to be nothing but remorse and regret. And absolutely, I mean, genuinely speaking, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes when this happens, and the position that, on reflection, subhanallah, I have no idea. I have no idea how we're going to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and explain our impotence in the face of something like this. All we have to do is address the possibility of the Shia team looking to stage a false extraterrestrial contact. We're not going to claim it as an absolute, but what we can do is at least entertain the possibility of them doing that, and that evidence suggests very strongly that that seems very likely, that it's going to happen. I just can't understand for the life of me. I mean, this is stuff that I've, subhanAllah, through my journey came across. It wasn't spoon fed to me, and what I've done is archived everything for you, and not only that, articulated it to a very reasonable standard, at least I personally believe. Yet, despite that, despite it being handed over, subhanallah, I see a reluctance. I sense a reluctance, and it really, 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 really upsets me. Simply because we've not seen we haven't even seen the system coming, right? Subhanallah, it's here. Yet we're still discussing. Well, not even discussing. It feels like it's a one-way conversation. May Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, Subhanallah, what can I do? I mean, it's here. We've provided science. We've even given forecasts. All those forecasts have been accurate to support it. We've passed the litmus test, but despite that, subhanallah, it seems like we're so stuck into this left brain kind of thinking and into the system, into the grid, that we can't even look at this objectively, subhanallah. It seems like we're really devoid of our firasa. It's
getting rings. Okay, and are you seeing craft there as well? Vehicles, as you call them?
I haven't identified craft, but I can tell you that where there's rings, there are these things. So
we have these ring makers,
yeah,
and they create tremendous energy.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about what you think is going on there? You've got any ideas along those lines?
Well, let's just take one that there was this, what do they call them, far lookers, or these psychologists.
Remote viewers.
Remote viewers,
yes.
Right, that's what I'm...
I just did an interview with somebody that Which one?
I had heard that there was one that saw something out there in the rings, and they were mining the rings.
That's true, yes.
Okay. I think I read her book, and she couldn't see anything from the side, but when she looked from the top down, why, that's when she saw things.
I see.
I happen to been able to uncover what she saw.
Really?
Yeah.
And what did you...
I would say, I don't think they're mining the rings. I think they're nursing from their rings.
Oh, in other words, you think they're using the energy to power their craft?
Yeah, that's where new ones are getting their energy.
New vehicles are getting their energy?
Yeah. Um, you start out small, just like a baby, and then they get bigger.
Oh, right, because you say that you believe they're sort of like alive. Do you believe they're plasma vehicles, what's called a plasma vehicle? Have you heard that terminology?
Well, I've never heard them called plasma vehicles, but um, I can understand why somebody might say that, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't make a big deal over that.
Okay, I've heard that the vehicles out there they actually fly close to the sun and they power themselves up on the sun and then they go back into
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I've noticed some go in there, and it means that they're capable of withstanding those high temperatures, yes. And so,
Sure.
Yeah, they could get pumped up really nicely.
So, well, let me ask you. I mean, you know that NASA has been sort of a front organization.
I'm not sure whether you're understanding what this NASA's engineer, is saying. That there's extraterrestrial life that's so advanced in terms of their technology that they can actually approach the sun without incinerating. Because if a planet did, it'd basically melt into molten lava, right? This is why only, and how we've discussed again, how that only stars can approach our sun, which is why Najm Muthaqib is sharing a barycenter with it, simply because they're both made of the same stuff. Whereas if a planet actually moved up to it with a crust, it would melt into molten lava. Or an iron core for that matter. So what this ex-engineer for NASA is saying over here is that these extraterrestrial ships are so significantly advanced in terms of their technology that they can approach the sun really close without it affecting them, power up, in other words, use the surface atmosphere of the sun and use that energy to generate energy for their propulsion systems, right? This is what they're basically saying, that they can harness the energy of the sun. This is how advanced this technology is, and these beings by extension are, right? And this is where this narrative is going, and subhanallah, it's subhanallah.
I call them a front organization for the secret space program.
um, I don't know about being front.
Well, when I say front, I mean, if you have an organization that deals with the public, interfaces with the public, and also misleads the public on certain things by doctoring photos, by covering up certain things, by only releasing certain things, that's a front organization, isn't it?
Okay, all right. I guess you're entitled to do that.
Okay. So if we were to look at the situation a little closer and find out who are the insider organizations, certainly Lockheed would qualify. Would you say that the defense industry are all in the know?
No.
No?
No. And Lockheed only recently has been getting images themselves. Mm-hmm. And having worked there, I don't think there'd be anybody that would be capable of doing the kind of work I have been doing. Did come up with something that they could do. It required the services of one of the gents that knew how to program the computer. And that was the advantage of the outfit. They said, I can it can handle any size computer that there is. And okay, so the day came, and this fellow's name, the owner of the company, his name is Jack, and Jack called a fellow in and says, Norm's ready for you to program things. Jack, I'm going to have to think about that. Can I tell you over in the morning what my decision is? Yeah, think it over. Next day came, he says, Jack, I can't do it. I am an aerodynamic specialist, and if I do this other, I ruin that. It's a no-go.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah, that was his attitude. And you check around, and the good guys still have that attitude.
Right, that they don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't want to be sort of.
They've chosen, their route.
Straight and narrow.
Yeah, you come along and deviate them. They can't hack it.
Very interesting. Do you believe that we're communicating with them? Have you had any evidence of that?
Oh, no. We are not capable of doing that. SETI has tried to communicate with extraterrestrials, and they haven't done it yet. They have chosen the type of person, the type of entity that they want to communicate with is somebody that knows how to build radios.
Right.
That constrains them in their thinking immensely.
Right.
Okay. There is one flight out to Saturn where the instrument flew by the ring. And the idea was to sense the plasma in there. It had a wide frequency range, and it turned out to be plasma. And so it ticked, and they knew the speed, and they knew the time it took to pass the ring, and so they knew how thick it was. And now that was a plasma indicator.
Okay.
So it has been measured that indeed there is plasma rings. But you read also where, this is a bunch of broken up moons that got there, and there's confusion in their storytelling.
But the rings that are suddenly appearing around Uranus, these are not broken up moons, right?
All I can say is, the rings are there, and my interpretation is by inference. I see the rings, so somewhere there's an EMV, and they're never where you think they're going to be.
Of Saturn, and they've seen that there's a hexagonal shape.
Yes.
You've heard of that.
Yes.
That seems to support your theory or your conclusions. That's what he said. Do you agree with that?
Any geometric form can be made.
Okay. But you don't see anything. I mean, isn't there a significance to the hexagon in the Saturn symbology?
Well, I would never expect it.
Okay, now what they're referring to, the hexagon on the surface, on the pole of Saturn, which is, for all intents and purposes, looks very artificial. At the top, there seems to be a vortex. If you look up pictures, you'll find it, the hexagon on top of Saturn. They're claiming that it's artificially created. Again, in terms of sacred geometry, basically a hexagon is the outward shape of a three-dimensional cube. And they're bringing that back to, and our ulama ikram really need to be muhtat about this, is all the way to this whole, the Freemasonry, where they talk about circling the square. And that they bring that back to the haram, which is the, mashallah, the Muslim ummah, who basically circumvent the Kaaba, which again lends itself to them taking credence. So all they're doing is basically sidetracking the true purpose for which the believers, subhanAllah, circumvented, and they will connect it to this sacred geometry and these mystery religious beliefs and doctrines. You can see them doing it. They're sidestepping even in terms of they're trying to penetrate the deen of Islam as well, and our traditions and our religious rites, subhanallah, and they're trying to connect it with these extraterrestrial beings, that this is why they do such things, subhanallah. So the attack isn't just coming, and they're not just trying to convince and lull other religious denominations into this false a religious doctrine that's coming, which will lend itself into a pure Luciferian doctrine that Albert Pike spoke of in his letter to Mazzini, but also they're trying to attack Islam as well. And all of this, I can't see it. Well, I see it happening very soon during the exit of this system. So I mean, this is where I think this is what they're talking about right now. Subhanallah.
Hexagon there, but I have never expected to see some of the other things I've seen either. So I did want to visit Saturn in the write-up I did, because there are some things that need to be fleshed out for people. But he told me that as an engineer, you really ought to get law under your belt, because you know the nomenclature, and these are the guys that are running the country, basically. And they really don't know about some things that they should, but they just do it. And so over a period of 10 years, I got a law degree.
Oh, you did? Wow, that's incredible.
And
On top
and
of
I found
everything
it.
else you were doing, you got a law degree.
I found it just exactly like the prof said, yeah. And that's what made it so easy to go in. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it.